So LL is talking about, he's in the interview. The discussion was talking about rappers that only talk about one thing. Money was the topic. Lone is laughing at this picture. So LL was being
That's wild. No, we ain't gonna do him.
Hey, that is wild though.
We ain't gonna do him like that.
There we go.
There we go. All right. So LL's in the interview. He's being interviewed, and he's talking about great artists and what they didn't have to do to be great. I thought the soundbite was very cool. I want y'all to listen to it. Ignore the picture.
Oh no, we can't ignore the picture.
And then we'll discuss after that.
All right, here we go.
12 years later, he's still talking that money talk. Now you're looking at it like, dude, do you have anything else to talk about? Like, my God, please, bro. Like, yo,
I appreciate that.
did anything happen recently that you care about a little bit? So so that's what we got to remember. Because you know what? All of us sitting here, we different generations, but I bet you know Bob Marley.
Sure do.
You goddamn right you do.
Sure do. I just watched this movie on the plane last
You know,
week.
you see that?
Amazing movie.
And you know why you because he talked about something.
Yeah.
Because he had something to say. And guess what?
Love, freedom.
Yeah, and you don't care what Bob Marley had in the bank. He might have died with $500,000. Do you care?
No.
Because that's not the metric for success. It is the metric for financial success, but it's not the metric for cultural success.
What do y'all think about that? The way he used Bob Marley as an example. The money argument, we've heard people make that argument, man. All he talk about is money, or it's money, money, money. But he makes a very good point as it relates to how Bob Marley transcended generations, and nobody cares about that. It was about the content, it was about what he stood for, and it was about the quality of the music. That supersedes, I guess, talking about money and just being a money artist all the time. When I saw him, when he initially started talking about the bread piece, I was like, okay, we've heard this before. But when he started talking about the greats, I started thinking about greats, and I'm like, yeah, I didn't care. None of that mattered, because the music and what they stood for was it just superseded everything else.
It's never mattered to me. Why does money, how much somebody makes?
Well,
matter?
because
He's talking about the subject matter in terms of people rapping about the same thing over time and not evolving. Like, you just rap about money every single time, and
They're literally appeasing their audience.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
There's people that are still buying it, that are actively listening to it,
Okay.
that don't care that they keep rapping about the same thing. They actually want to keep hearing them rap about the same thing. They don't listen the same way we listen. And that's sometimes we have to realize that, because like a couple weeks ago we talked about grown man hip hop, or
Oh yeah, with
or
Knife
what was
Wonder.
it, the genre he was talking about, the
Adult contemporary
adult
something.
contemporary.
Yeah.
Some people do not care about their artists evolving because they're not evolving. This is literally what gets them through, to hear the same thing over and over and over and over. To us, it's like, I'm tired of you talking about the same thing. Even artists that talk about different things still talk about the same thing. Like LL is notorious for talking about his love for women, and
Panthers.
I hate him. I hate
that was a
him.
one situation thing. But
I hate him. Oh my God. I hate him.
he got on the track with Rick Ross and
Fat Joe.
Fat Joe. I mean, it was somewhat centered around money for the most part, but I mean, that wasn't the whole thing.
Nah, that
It
record
was a
wasn't about
concept.
money.
It was a concept record.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
video, though, the video is me in front of a luxury car,
Yeah.
which is a symbol of money. LL was notorious for wearing a big, nice necklace with a troop outfit. I mean, you had to have money to have a troop outfit and a big necklace.
That was
like
the one the video with
He
the big
evolved,
pants,
though.
right?
Right, he evolved though.
What do you think about the second part where he talks about the true legends and how they, I guess, had their approach to things may have evolved, or they didn't rap about things that were superficial and were more potent in terms of things that they talked about, which may have gone to or went towards them being great? Because the Bob Marley reference to me was perfect.
It's perfect, but we literally just talked about the nature of music right now.
Right.
So Bob Marley came in at a time where me writing songs about the political nature of what's going on where I'm from, and things happening around the world was in then. Now people don't care about that so much. They care about, like, and I'm bringing it up again, we've talked about it during the show. They care about the vibe. They care about the vibe and what relates to them, because they can tune out the stuff that they don't want to hear. It's a lot easier to tune out the noise you don't want to hear nowadays than it was back then, because there's a lot more going on that's being fed to you day to day. Back then, all you seen was what was on TV or who was playing a basketball game here and there or what was going on in your city.
Newspaper.
Yeah, newspaper.
I like that. I like
CNN, NBC, whatever was popping then. I mean, you might have had 20 channels at the most.
I like that.
Back then. Now you have multiple TV channels. You have multiple YouTube channels. You have multiple factors where you can go watch and consume whatever you want to consume. I don't have to pay attention to politics if I don't want to right now because I'm not interested in it because I could be interested in something else.
Yeah.
Well, you know,
I'm mad at that.
I think the thing that stood out to me in that particular statement, and it harkens back to what we just talked about, is the difference between people being financially successful and culturally successful. You know, little brother is culturally successful.
True.
Especially if you're within our circle of people who have an appreciation for hip hop and just music in general. You know, but sometimes people will make an argument when you talk to them about those who are culturally successful. And they'll bring up and say, yeah, but he doesn't have what so-and-so has.
Right.
And they think that is a valid argument when you're trying to talk about cultural success. And it's not. There are rappers that had huge hits that just don't have the cultural cachet that people who even, let's even take a song like, you know, OC, Time's Up. You know, that's a song that you still hear in pockets. You might hear
I know as soon as it come on.
You might hear in a video game soundtrack. It might be in a movie. And these are things that have never stopped, you know, making their way through the culture, even if you just hear them subconsciously and you're not thinking, oh, but that was, you know, and nothing against 𝐀𝐄, who had, you know, I Wish, which was a big record at the time, a record I still like.
I like it too.
I bought the single when it came out.
But, you know, like, you know,
Maja back in the day.
As somebody, you know, who listened to everything, even I can't tell you 𝐀𝐄's second song. And I'm one of those people I could always give you what the second single that didn't work was.
Yeah.
And the thing is, like, so I think there's just so many factors into how we measure the success of an artist or measure the success of art. And I think it's unfair to some people in the beginning process of it, because you look at it and be like, that was a failure. That wasn't it. But then we come back 20 years later and we're still talking about that artist. We're still supporting that artist. You know, I don't know if maybe 𝐀𝐄's put out other music. And like I said, I'm not trying to harp on 𝐀𝐄.
I see what you're doing.
It's just the example I'm using. But like, you know, if 𝐀𝐄 does a random midnight release on a Monday, are people really going to be like, oh yeah, I gotta buy the physical vinyl that he puts out?
Well, nobody's going to at this point. But
I think that's more real quick. I think that's more so one hit wonder type people though. I think LL Cool J is more so talking about people that continue to keep putting out the same thing over and over and over and over.
That aren't one hit wonders.
Who had success with their formula, and they continue to harp on that same thing. And I'm going to go ahead and say it. Drake is one of those people. He had success with a formula and he keeps on doing the same thing, but it works for him.
Yeah. I would have liked if LL put a name on that bullet. Tell me who you're talking about, LL.
I have a question for y'all. The second part of the question. Terry was talking about artists that do something that works, right? And this works for them. And I think LL was alluding to artists that were of a bigger status that may just talk about the bread. The question is, when he talks about the all-time greats and he alludes to the elites and the legendary status people, is there an example of someone that is an all-time great artist that does not have cultural currency? Stevie Wonder got cultural currency.
We talking hip hop or what?
That's a different genre.
I'm just saying. I'm just throwing names out there because to me, Jay-Z done rapped about a lot of stuff, but he's got cultural currency as well.
I don't even know what that means.
When I say cultural currency, he talked about impact. The last part of his statement was he talked about the culture versus just the finance. Like what you think about when you look at the artists, it's like it's not about how much bread they got. It's about what they've done and how they're looked at as in the culture. That's the way I see it.
It's hard because once again, hip hop is so young as far as when it started really getting to the money.
Okay.
So anybody who really got to the money, it's hard not to say they had, like, I give the example of one hit wonders, but if you're talking about somebody that's released several albums, but I feel like there is a difference between Jeezy and Young Jeezy.
Oh, okay.
You know, as far as like the content is concerned, especially when you talk about the recession and the recession too. Like he stepped out of just being the dope boy who rapped and just was in the street and really talked about his place in this world. Like I know a lot of people, you know, they checked, and some people checked out on Jeezy after he wasn't wearing the snowman shirts anymore.
And that's why here lately, Snowman back. It's like I'm going to rewind back and give you exactly what you want because I swayed a little bit.
Just like what Eminem
my
did.
Core, Eminem is a perfect example as well.
I like that.
My core audience wants this, and this is what I'm going to give them because they're still going to eat it up. Eminem is the perfect example of somebody that's going to keep catering to his core audience regardless, because we're still going to listen to it just to listen to it, but they're going to keep listening to it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I mean, look, if
I'm not mad
Jay-Z
at that.
decided to give us Volume 4,
who's going to be mad?
not me.
I'm not.
Not me.
I'm not.
So, I mean, I love LL Cool J's point of view, but at the same time, again, what I've probably said the past 3 weeks that we talked about LL Cool J, he has a rollout.
Yeah,
He has to talk about it. And
you're
he
talking
also
spicy.
hasn't dropped anything in forever. So you can harp on people that have dropped stuff and talked about the same thing, but you kind of took a back seat role and didn't do anything musically. And now you have a rollout and you got a lot to say. I respect that, but at the same time, you got to show and prove first. That's why I really don't want to talk about what LL Cool J has to say until after
that album
he
comes
drops
Full
the album.
project.
That album come out.
Yeah.
All right.
That's gonna
That's
put
fair.
it. That's gonna put it in perspective for me. I don't know about y'all, but for me, that'll put it in perspective. If he drops an album, the singles have been pretty good, but if that whole thing that he drops is solid and stands on what he's been talking about,
Yeah.
then I can jump for it at that point in
I
time.
don't know. I don't fully. I think that his points can still be valid even if his music sucks. I think it just means that
It
it's
takes some credibility away from him, though.
maybe a little bit, but I feel like you can still speak on stuff even if it's relevant to you. You know what I mean? Like you can be like,
I see
man,
where
I
you're
hate these
going.
people. He can be a little bit of a hypocrite.
Which he might turn out. He might turn out to be.
Be like,
Maybe,
yeah,
you know.
he made a valid point, even though his the rest of the album wasn't no good.
Yeah, like you make a great point. Hey, are you talking about yourself?
Yeah, you wanted to get on here and talk about pink cookies in a plastic bag. It's different than what you were talking about before, but I don't like it.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm not mad at that. That's a good point, brother. That's a good point. All right. No more Uncle L, man. We're going to wait till
Wait till the album comes
We're
out.
going to wait till the album come out. I ain't going to say if because I think he's
Sorry.
LL done got a lot of spin on the new old heads. I will say that.
I mean,
not mad at it 'cause
he a whole legend though,
Go ahead
bro.
and share some of this, L.
Yeah, come on, L.
Come on, man. We actually
Quit
be
being a hater.
Yeah.
unblock Jay Moore.
Block me on Twitter or X or whatever. I don't know
on,
what
man.
I did, fam, but you know.
Yeah. We shooting you a lot of bail, OG. Like, yeah, unblock Jay Moore.
Or I'm gonna keep sharing this blue hat picture.
Damn. Go ahead and show it.
Yeah.
Why you zoom in though? Like, stop zooming in.
No, stop that. Stop that. Stop that.
Oh,
Stop
smooth face ass LL.
I could just hear his corny laugh in the background when you zoom in like that.
I just pictured the I'm that type of guy video.
Wow.